Okay, so the main purpose today to share with you O-RAN security. And basically, before I start, I just want to thank Richard and the team in the Asia Open RAN Academy for joining the OTIC Summit in Singapore a few months ago. So we have a very strong attendance from the global players from the US and as well as Asia. And we have also guest of honor, Alex, who's the chairman of the O-RAN Alliance from Deutsche Telekom, and also Docomo head, who is championing the O-RAN from Japan, right? So and also of course, last but not least, the China Mobile head, the championing the O-RAN security, O-RAN from China Mobile. So the summary here is that O-RAN security is one of the second highest agenda for O-RAN. All right. The top one, of course, is interoperability. You need to make sure that all the components work together as one family, so-called, right? So you have RU, we have DU, we have CU, and the RIC, right? Working together, together with the core, SA core, as well as the UE, or user equipment, user devices. So this is a very important consideration for the O-RAN Alliance, and they have been constantly updating the specifications. And definitely, I believe we have talked about Plugfest before. So in the Plugfest, if you all do not know, we can share with you a little bit more, but you can just Google O-RAN Alliance Plugfest in the Google, and then you can see that ViaV just did the one that just 1 year we have 2 times. One is in May and the other one is in November, so just finished. So ViaV conducted over 25 Plugfests for O-RAN all over the world, and some of them are under O-RAN security. So previously in May, we conducted O-RAN security with Auray OTIC Lab in Taiwan. They are all in the website. All right. So the different projects are there, so you can look at it and you can find out more. All right. So this is the backdrop of what I want to share. So basically, O-RAN security is the number 2 priority in terms of the importance in O-RAN movement. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so right now in terms of, I was actually in, this week I was in India. So I met up with, I was in IIT, India Institute of Technology. So India Institute of Technology, just some sharing, there are about 8 or 9 institutions all across India, right? So one of the doctorate who's postgraduate is actually a doctor, but he's actually studying the postgraduate doctor, so second doctorate. So he's actually doing a lot of 5G and 6G research. So he said that with O-RAN, definitely there is a lot more concern about the security side. So he said that how to manage the security because of openness. So to that point, the highlight here is that the cybersecurity is a very focused area. So with many geopolitical situation that's happening, so O-RAN security, or in a nutshell, 5G security moving to 6G is one of the very important to point to industry, governments, and regulators. So telecom has evolved. So with this aggregation, we are looking at more surfaces to attack. And even 5G itself with the SBA architecture. SBA means service-based architecture. So you have the in the 5G network, you're talking about the NRF, NEF, so different components. For example, all the IUDU segregation we're talking about. So it allows more attacks into the surface. So in fact, we work with a major vendor in the US on a next generation firewall, whereby we actually provide the solutions to actually mitigate against external threat to make sure that the firewall is robust. For example, between the AMF and the SMF, AMF and the UPF, how to ensure the robustness of the different components as a service-based architecture platform against any threats. So this is how IT is coming into the telecom world aggressively. So for AI ML, of course, we are also talking about the part whereby this is related to the time we talk about the RIC, Radio Intelligence Controller. So for example, right now with AI ML like Chat GPT and all this kind of intelligence, self-learning kind of technology. So how it will impact in terms of deceiving the entire network to say that I am actually authorized to actually manage the entire RAN optimization, because that's a function of RIC, right? RAN Intelligence Controller, if you were to be around last time. So with that understanding, we need to ensure that with the implementation of AI ML, you're able to ensure the security aspects is being governed well. So ORAN Alliance is also talking about how to adopt AI ML into the RAN Intelligence Controller and implementing security in the RIC as well. Okay, so that is how things has evolved. And of course, automation is ongoing. There's a threat as well. So of course, all these things, the purpose is to enhance flexibility, but also comes with security risks. So later I'll share with you the different specifications that is focused by the ORAN Alliance and what kind of specifications has evolved. And then what are the things that we have been testing. So of course, VRV is very much into ORAN security, and we ensure that the network is compliant and robust. So recently, like in Japan, the Japan government is pushing for the 5G and ORAN aggressively. So they also have given funding to actually support the push. And if you know about the ORIC lab in Japan, I mean, you can Google it, OREC lab in Japan, headed by Docomo, as well as the separate OTIC lab, Open RAN Test Integration lab in Japan. So we actually were engaging with them on this security as well, and what are the requirements of security besides ORAN itself. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, no, let's move on. So I'll touch really about the ORAN introduction and then ORAN Alliance security and what are the security tests that is needed. Okay, so if you were to notice for the cyber attacks is increasing very much in the communications. So as highlighted here, increased by 27% in terms of number of attacks. You can see this is recorded in January, which is this year. Okay, so DDoS attack, in fact, just last month, Singapore, the health system of the government was attacked by DDoS, and then the system was shut down. Right, so that was just last month, and the government is pulling his hair. You cannot avoid, right? So that you can see that the telecom sector is one that is the highest in terms of the attacks from the attacker, because that is where people talk, right? So and I think most of you know, if you read the news, in a way, Optus chief executive officer was so-called asked to say that he resigned, right? So because I think if you know, last year, if I'm not wrong, last year there was outage at Optus, right? So what happened is the data, person data of I can't remember how many 100,000 or what, the subscribers information was taken out. And of course, the way it was managed was not very good. There was no total transparency, updating the customer. And as a result, after 1 year of talking to the cabinet in the Australia, and then there was a lot of pressure from the government as well as from the society. I mean, the subscribers, the residents, to ask for a change. Therefore, just last week, I think the Optus CEO has resigned. right? So I think the latest one is the LGU Plus. So LGU Plus is also in the news. So if you track the LGU Plus, there was a major attack, and then the system was down, I think, for close to a day. And then so the CTO was asked to leave. Below also asked to leave. Below. So 5 levels of hierarchy was also affected. So, but of course, when they changed the new, at that time they changed another chief executive. I can't remember what XO is that, but asked to replace the CTO that has left. So he asked the remaining level of the cybersecurity team to stay, right? Because they need them to understand, hey, why the attack comes, right? So the point is that attacks, whether is it 5G today, there is not yet going to O-RAN. Imagine that just in Asia alone, these two is a high level profile, right? Optus and LGU Plus. That is 5G enclosed. So 5G enclosed, that means that the 5G is a closed architecture. You have Nokia, Ericsson, and Samsung, right? So the three big guys allow this attack. So when they go to Open RAN, wow, you can see that the attack surface increases. So the government, the regulators recognize this immense threat that's coming in. So how to make sure that it's protected is on the mind of everybody. So it's very important to the industry player, to the government, as well as to people like us. Okay, so this is one thing that is a reality that we need to address that in O-RAN. So the besides the disaggregation wise, the threat level also has impact from the point of view of moving to cloud. So actually, I was talking to another telco just yesterday. So the architecture basically, even though they have this deployment by Kubernetes, right? So some of the terminology I use to be technical. So I assume that some of the technical terms you already know. But if you do not know, I think you can ask Richard. Richard has all the answer. So
Involve me.
So I have to tease you. So like Ericsson has this Kubernetes platform whereby their service-based architecture allows, I mean, today with the virtualization industry, basically Kubernetes has somehow replaced it to be more efficient than the virtualization. So there's this hypervisor thing we're talking about all this while, you know, like VMware, hypervisor, and different hypervisors, right? So, and then and OpenStack as well. Then when Kubernetes come in with containerized solution, it actually sort of provides certain avenues to be more efficient and to ensure that the hardware below is able to be more robustly used without adding more layers of complexity. So cloud itself, even though it provides this kind of advantages to many telcos, they are looking at the telcos in this case. Yesterday I was talking to him. They have cloud, private cloud, and also public cloud, and also hybrid cloud. So there are all kinds of solutions from several vendors. Ericsson is just one of them. So the scratch the head just in managing them alone is a challenge. So now we talk about how to ensure security. So this is a thing that actually, to be honest, it always comes in a package, but the thing that we want to see is the how to overcome it rather than shun away. So we are talking to the telco on how to actually make it more robust, that they can analyze the entire different vendor architecture and also address in future security, definitely. So the cloud definitely pose more entry point for the security breach. I'm also talking, I just came back from India this week, right? So in terms of deployment, there's a lot of things that's moving to the edge, right? So when you move to the edge, compared to the centralized and cloud and edge, this kind of architecture today moving forward. So edge is actually more susceptible to threat because it's not as robust in terms of protection. So therefore, of course, in terms of IT world, if you know about the word called SASE, Secure Access Service Edge, whereby anywhere you are connected anytime, use any platform to connect. That is us, right? So whether it be on a holiday, in the Maldives, or in a working, in the office or at home, we're all connected, and sometimes we use very secure data. We are talking about using our company information. Sometimes it's personal, just a website browsing, non-secure. So there are a lot of these platform whereby at the edge, we got to make sure that the user experience latency is managed well. With that, if you add more security, you're adding more layers. So how to mitigate that? So SASE actually is a part of the solution that people like Palo Alto is pushing very hard. So these are the things that IT world will somehow cross bridge into the telecom world to ensure greater security. Right. So I was in India. I was talking to in Hyderabad. I was talking to a provider of security. The top security provider in the network, you can see the Palo Alto, Cisco, F5, Fortinet, and Zscaler. So these are all the IT, what we are aware of IT security companies. But definitely, we are actually merging them and implementing some of their best practices into the telecom network because of the nature of edge. Of course, the telecom industry itself, like people telco, even like Globe or Smart, definitely they're also talking to these players to integrate this IT infra into the telecom infra. So just now I talk about service-based architecture. So I've mentioned that with the exposed different services all across the network, the entry point for attack increases. So it's not all gloom and doom, okay? I'm not trying to play to you gloom and doom, okay? So I hope you don't take away that, oh, it's gloom and doom, you know, let's not go to ORAN. But ORAN basically is architecture that I was talking to the doctor in the IIT yesterday. Yesterday? Yesterday. Oh no, the day before. The day before. Sorry. So basically, even though 5G exposes more threat ORAN, the thing is that in the whole world, government, they recognize that moving forward from 5G to 6G, we don't want to have a monopoly, right? We don't want to have just the three guys, Samsung, Ericsson, Nokia. So that's why I think Richard and the team with all the governments in the world talking about Japan, and then we have Korea, and then we have Singapore, then we have Taiwan, even China, certain part of China, and also Europe, and also US is driving this from the government strongly perspective. Germany, you know, because the importance of having the open idea, allowing more players to come. So you want the economy to be a spread across and not just a monopoly. So that is a fundamental of ORAN. So ORAN allows the many more players, people like you know, in future, you can create your own company, right? And then develop some value add, one component of the ORAN architecture to add value, and you can prosper. So that kind of open architecture is a fundamental, the flexibility is fundamental to the trust of ORAN from all over the world. And to add on to this, even the security issue, VIAVI just won, I think I told Richard, UK government pumped in 88 million pounds this year for a project to actually ask the industry to roll out ORAN. So they have identified a lot of projects. VIAVI won 3 of them that's related to RAN intelligence controller. We work with Accelerant and different company. And the target is by, if I'm not wrong, is 2025, 33%, 30% of the UK network is ORAN. So they have already talked to Vodafone and Orange, and they have also agreed to it. So of course the money comes from the government, but the expertise comes from different companies, and of course with the heavy involvement of Orange and Vodafone. Okay, so you can see that the government is having this momentum to recognize that we want to have open economy and not just based on the 3 vendors in the world. All right, so that's a fundamental, but definitely when the fundamental of the importance of O-RAN comes, there is this add-on challenge we have. Okay, so I did talk about this just now. In terms of development, now it's a black box, and then the 3 big guys basically have a closed structure, and then they have thousands of engineers working on the black box, and then they deliver in isolated manner on the custom hardware and software. And the protocol is like, you know, like between RU and the DU. If you ask Ericsson or Nokia, RU and DU, so it's proprietary, it's not open yet, right? So it's still controlled by the telco. And the software that you run, let's say if you use, let's say for example, I just give an example. I think of course in a local context, maybe I just use overseas context is easier to make sure that we are all neutral, right? So let's say SKT. SKT, they have 3 vendors. We have Nokia, Ericsson, and you have Samsung, like ABC. So each region has a different coverage within the Korea, South Korea. So each region don't talk to each other because Nokia network cannot work with Ericsson, right? Ericsson network cannot work with Samsung. So they're all very close operations. And then the operator itself has to manage that particular region by itself. So that is what we have in traditional landscape today for 5G. So with CI/CD, open architecture, DevOps, so it opens up the platform. Of course, if you ask me, Ericsson, Nokia, and Samsung also have this DevOps within the company itself, but it's just within the company. It's closed, right? So there's no room for other players to come in, right? So that's within the company. So with the implementation of 5G, we want to make sure that this open architecture is open to many, many more players. So just now I talked about Ericsson Kubernetes and different cloud provider and COTS. So in the service-based architecture itself, you have Kubernetes, you also have hypervisor and cloud provider, and you also have the COTS, right? So you have all the different hardware. So whether you are using virtual machine or cloud deployment and open software, these are, as I highlighted, these are all IT-based network architecture. So it's very much important for us to understand that now there's a merger, and then how to mitigate against this threat. That's why I mentioned that all these security company, definitely they are actually, like for example, Cisco, they are very much into moving to the wireless space as well, providing security solution as well. Cisco Umbrella, I believe you know. So I think Cisco Umbrella is one of the two that's in, and also Palo Alto Prisma. So they are very, very well-known secure access service edge solution. So we will definitely see in the next 1 or 2 years a trend of how this evolving IT security with working with us is being integrated into the telecom industry, implemented in the infra. And with the, I think I mentioned this about zero touch automated. So I was in the on the lighter note, Singapore International Cyber Week. That was in September, I think, and also the India Mobile Congress last month. So in these 2 events itself, you can see that there are a lot of companies that is coming up with a lot of solutions to be implemented, introduced into the security space, as well into the telecom space. So in the next 2 years or 3 years, even as some of you who are just starting undergraduate or postgraduate graduating, you will see that the prevalence of this demand to actually understand how to integrate into the telecom infra successfully. The problem right now is that there's so many vendors out there, and for a telco to manage everything is so complex. Everyone by itself has value. But put all this together to a telco, to manage is complex. That means I must have a engineer A competent with your vendor A product, engineer B competent with vendor B product. It's a lot of cost to the telco. So somehow you can think of a way, just tell you how to make money. So Richard say I'm doing business development. If you can have an idea that actually can streamline all these vendor solutions such that it allows a telco to manage on one dashboard to control and manage the different security network, I think you'll make a lot of money. Okay, so that is the onset of cyber threat. So I think I mentioned that just now. We can move on. So in the summary, we have disaggregation, new architecture, and then large ecosystem of partners. And then we have new elements and interfaces. The good thing that I want to share with you is that we have, I think the 3GPP board has discussed when we move to 6G, right? So right now, VRV is also engaged with the many 6G project. In the US, for example, we have funded and also engaged with about 6 or 7 universities, and one of them is Northeastern universities. So there's a lot of ongoing projects that we are involved. And when I come back from IIT just this week, so IIT itself, Indian Institute of Technology, which we know that is well known globally, the top in the world. They also has many 6G projects. So what I want to say is that for 6G, the good news is that the service-based architecture that you have today for 5G SA core, in terms of the AMF, the SMF, UPF, the core side, is not changing. So that gives a certain base for O-RAN to bloom. Because you don't want to have another core. O-RAN itself, security is is complex enough, right? Of course, it adds value with flexibility, but you don't want the core, if you move to 6G, change again. Then it'll be a headache to everybody, right? So the good news is that in the 3GPP, moving forward, it released 16, 17, 18, 19, and so on and so forth. You can see the service-based architecture of 5G core will remain the foundation that's unchanged. So we just need to continue to stabilize, make the O-RAN robust and secure. All right, so that is one thing that I would like to share with you. So exposure to open source. Open source software is very prevalent nowadays. It's getting more stable. And if some of you are using Jenkins and Robot Framework, you will know that it's being used by the network vendors itself, like the three big guy dimensions, and also many telcos. So Jenkins and Robot Framework is open source, right? But we also need to know how to leverage this and to ensure that security is managed well when deployed. So I think just now we talked about the rig itself. Okay, so this is a summary of the surface attack that is available for different attacks to come in. We have to discuss the project O-RAN system utilizing. Oh, that's great. Okay, basically, in terms of cloud, right? So the 3 big hyperscalers, they have their own security system. All right. So if we talk to them, okay, they say, oh, their network, their cloud is very, very secure. But the key challenge is that when you implement under the telco environment, so always see ourselves, because at the end of the day, even in Philippines, we want Smart and Globe, for example, to deploy, right? So they are not going to use AWS only, right? So they're going to use everybody, right? So, and then they have a hybrid cloud. They also have a public private cloud as well. So the key point here is that every one of them silo, just like Samsung, Nokia are secured by itself. So when you have integration by the telco of everybody, I'm going to use all their public cloud. So how do you ensure security whereby you are having this cloud solution, some of the component SBA is here. Then when you move to edge, for example, or you move to another data center, you are not using AWS, no? You are using GCP. So from A to B, you are transiting and you can move to private cloud. And edge with a private 5G deployment moving forward, right? there are so many private 5G that is flourishing now. Each one of them, you will not be having AWS only. You also have your GCP, Azure, and you also be having private cloud, some of them. So there's this kind of interaction between the cloud network. Security will be a constant challenge to the telco, right? To the telco, because the telco is the one that's going to manage this. So it's important for us to recognize that what O-RAN security is having is that they also, which I will share later, they also have this act whereby they actually governs what kind of under public cloud, what they use the word O cloud, general cloud. What kind of threat that I give you an example, which I'll cover later, neighbor attack. That means similar to DDoS attack, whereby they just trick the cell to say that, hey, you are very busy, you know, a lot of subscribers calling. They just send tons of requests. Like for example, I just give you an example, like within a cell, wow, suddenly you have 2,000 subscriber calling in, 2,000, but actually they are not real. So the network can be deceived that, oh, okay, I'm very, very busy. I need to steer the traffic to other cells, you know. So, and then let's say I'm in the cloud. So now when I transfer the time, how do I transfer effectively to make sure that there is no issue in terms of the subscriber quality of service, and then as well as no threats going to the subscriber. So these are the challenges that the telco always face since day one. Up to today, if you ask our telco, they are also facing the same struggle. So I will just share with you right now the standards body. Of course, it is a progression. It's a progression. It's not a destination. It is a journey. So security-wise, O-RAN security is right now providing that platform, which I'll cover, O-Cloud threat to govern, to check by the telco. To say, you must check this first before you deploy O-RAN. Okay, I'll cover that. So this one I mentioned. So these are some of the papers that you can see here. In the US, we have O-RAN, Open RAN Security Consideration by the US Cybersecurity Infra Agency. And then this Open RAN risk analysis, and then report of the cybersecurity in Open RAN. And then this is a Open RAN security report in India. So these are all the O-RAN security critical emerging technology working group. And these are all the latest. You can see this 2023. All right, these are all the latest. So if you need this document, I don't mind sharing this with Richard. If you want, I'll just send this document with you. Then just download and just read it. All right. So this is some of the collaterals. A brief look at O-RAN security by Fujitsu white paper, by Altiostar, and by Mavenir. So these are very good because this topical, this could be potential employer, right? Your potential employer. So these are the security aspects of the vendors that's looking into security for Open RAN. And then Ericsson itself is also having it. And then NEC itself. And also this is O-RAN security. So I think it's good for me to share with Richard. So you can actually look at all these papers and dive deep into what is the mind of NEC, and Ericsson, and Mavenir, Altiostar, and Fujitsu when they talk about security and what matters. All right. Okay. So in O-RAN Alliance itself, which VIV is a co-chair in Test and Integration Forum Group, Dr. Ian Wong, I think Richard has met him, right? Yeah, he was there in the OTIC Summit who gave a speech. So he's actually co-chair of that Test Integration Forum Group for OTIC. So any OTIC that's being birthed for example, right now there is upcoming from India. So definitely they will need to submit a proposal to the OTIC TIFG in US, and then they will validate that. So this working group itself is evolving, and they craft out working group 11 just to focus on security, which I mentioned at the beginning. So you can see that this is a threat modeling, O-RAN security requirements, security test specification, security protocols and TIFG end-to-end tests. So this is document, let me just go to here. So this document that you can download from the website. So this is TIFG end-to-end test specifications. So these are specifications that's being used for Plugfest, right? So many telcos are looking at this document. And then we have a Plugfest with Rakuten for this, for O-RAN security. All right, so and then the chapter which I want to highlight here is chapter 7. So you can see that this is GNOB Security Assurance Specification SCAS. So for 3GPP itself, for security assurance specification for SCAS for 3GPP, since 4G days, there's also specifications for 4G and 5G, eNoB and GNOB, whether it be the legacy closed 5G or Open RAN. So what Open RAN did standards that they extract some from the 3GPP and put it over here. All right, so it's a superset 3GPP has, and then for O-RAN is a subset of it. So that gives you a flavor. So you can cover the S-plane, PTP DOS attack. You can see the merging of IT because in the we talk about DDoS, right? And then this is DOS attack in the S-plane. And then in the network layer, EC-PRE, S-plane, C-plane. These are all the control plane, right? And this is a near real-time rig, which you talked about just now, the A1 interface DOS attack, and S-plane PTP unexpected input network layer. And then there's a C-plane EC-PRE, unexpected input network layer, near real-time A1 interface unexpected input, and blind exploitation for a near real-time rig. So just now I mentioned about OCloud, remember? So this is one of them. So they didn't mention AWS, all the three hypervisor, hyperscaler, but they mentioned here OCloud. So they have procedures to actually provide the telco to test this. So O-RAN security, based on end-to-end security just document I showed to you just now, they have chapter 7.1, chapter 7.2, chapter 7.3. So they will implement, we just now cover 7.1, but 7.2 will cover DOS, fuzzing as well, and blind exploitation, and 7.3 OCloud security. That is just now the document, the Word document I shared with you just now. Okay, so the detailed requirement are here. So total, there are 17 test cases here. You can see, extracted from 3GPP, TS.33.511. And then DOS fuzzing, this is the test cases that we saw just now, and OCloud. So I hope it's clear. Besides that, we are looking at O-RAN front haul security. So O-RAN front haul security, we also have validation to test the RU and DU, between the RU and DU, towards the DU and towards the RU. So that's the front haul security validation requirements, which I'll cover later. And then you have security protocol validation using, this is, as I mentioned, is merging the IT world. You have TLS, SSH. So the reality is this, right? If you want to touch on O-RAN, of telecom O-RAN, or even for RAN, all this security protocol, RAN security protocol, it will be extracted from the conventional IT world. So SSH, DTLS, IP security, tunnel, authentication, these are all part of the IT world that we are extracting it to put into the telecom security protocol. So port scanning is also a tool to scan between TCP, UDP traffic, and SCTP traffic. And we have a chapter 33.117 for vulnerability scanning as well. And software security evaluation tests, SBOM sign, and data and field compliance. So for example, when I was in Japan, software security evaluation test is one of the requirements for one of the vendors there, right? So this is a snapshot of the security requirements for O-RAN. Any questions so far? I hope there's not too heavy in the morning after 2 hours of talk from a previous presenter. So you can see this is a very pictorial view right now, right, of end-to-end network. So I didn't put the core side because core, like I just now mentioned, highlighted to you, core itself with the SBA architecture, that itself has security test validation. Just now I mentioned about SCAS, right? So SCAS in 3GPP is not just applied to the RAN, but also to the core, right? So right now we are taking a subset of 3GPP for the RAN, even the core as security. We take subset of the RAN side and then form ORAN security specifications. So that's where we are ORAN security specifications. So within, just now we talked about A1 and E2 and front hall over here. So if you see this architecture, OCloud is the one that I just now mentioned to you, the noisy neighbor virtual network functions. So this is the one recommended by the ORAN Alliance that we need to test, and also complying to ORAN Front Security 802.1x for the between RU and the DU. Okay, so and this is a DOS attack test between the RU and DU, and protocol test like vulnerability test between the front hall and the F1. So in summary, you can see here, complete ORAN security test solution cover the SCAS we mentioned just now, part of 3GP TS33.511, and DOS and fuzzing, denial of service, right? Which I mentioned to you is you know, the one which just happened in Singapore just last month, right? Where the hospital shut down, right? The government is a lot of money loss. I know every time there's a DOS attack on this major player, you just equal to very, some is tangible, some is non-tangible loss, tangible and non-tangible loss. So you can equate to $1 billion kind of a mark, right? Especially in telecom. So it's $1 billion kind of mark because it's all about subscriber leaving, right? And impact to subscriber and lawsuit, you know, and the branding. So all this unquantifiable money loss is also a loss, right? So these are all very important. Even though just one line, to us it's just one line. Oh, just one line only, but to the telco is $1 billion loss. Okay, so you can see the gravity of it. OCloud security that would cover the movement to the 3 hyperscalers, as well as a private cloud. Like Rakuten has their own cloud, and different telco has also the private cloud as well. And ORAN for security, there's 2 parts of it. One is authenticator validation and supplicant validation. So I have some content on that. And then security protocol validation. Just now we mentioned the IPsec and TLS protocols. And port scanning, ensure that the different ports has no threats, and vulnerability scanning. Okay, so from VRV perspective, we have actually tested some of these together with a company like Auray. I mentioned to you May this year, we test our security with Auray, OTIC Lab in Taiwan, right? So there's a lot of report generated. I think you can find some in the website, but if you're really interested, you let us know. We can just try to see some of these PlugFest security test results can be shared with you. Okay, so one PlugFest typically takes about 3 months, 2-3 months to implement. So you can see that even though the outcome is very simple, maybe just a few minutes, but the work behind it is 3 months work. Okay, so implementing all of these things takes a lot of patience. And so that's why it is a discredit for me to just browse it through. But because of time, we have no choice. All right. But it's good for you to recognize each one of them is very critical to the security of the network. So just now we talk about this. We talk about the C and S plane DOS attack and A1 interface DOS attack, unexpected input attack. All right, so this is what is being tested over here. And basically, you need UEs. Okay, in this case, end-to-end test. This end-to-end test, UE, and then generate to the network, and then we can test it over here. All right, and similarly for this, we will use this time synchronization device to do this testing in the ECP plane, PTP plane. We have not done this A1 interface DOS attack yet because it's very new. We are working on it. Okay. So protocol validation, just now I mentioned, this is solutions under working group 11. So item 1 to 5 talk about the different testing. And for front hall, as I mentioned, there is authentication validation, supplication validation. And OCloud, I mentioned to do it just now. Later I have a video to show to you for the orange security test we have done. And then this is some testing setup for the TLS and SSH scanning. So you can see that we talk about the different encryption, authentication, a key exchange, and key agreement. So these are all very technical. So we need to load the profile and the different certificates. So the IT was all about certificates, right? Everything is about certificates. You know a certificate, you cannot talk to me. So certificate validation is important, and vulnerability testing. So these are the key algorithm you can see: encryption algorithm, and exchange algorithm, and authentication. And VRV on the next step, just to give a highlight, with regards to O-RAN and 5G and moving to 6G, one of the things that they are looking at is also quantum technology. So we are going to we are working on some technology that's related to quantum testing as well. So quantum is more robust than what we have here in terms of encryption. So it allows the threat to really be addressed, not just at the onset of the encryption generation and decryption point, the endpoints, but also throughout the journey. Let's say there's a threat coming in the process of transportation. Quantum, with quantum, even though there's they use light. Quantum means use light, light energy. They have this sequence of manipulation such that at any journey or point, let's say there is any threat coming in. With quantum, you're ensuring that any threat coming in, you measure the using light wave to measure the differences. If let's say the pattern changes, you will not accept that threat to be authenticated threat beside encryption. So this is already implemented in the defense world, and I think in the telco, some of them has implemented it, and then they're sold to some defense industry. So definitely quantum technology is going to come in and being implemented in the coming days. So we'll share more in the future, but don't be overwhelmed, right? So this is just a matter of better security, right? With quantum technology and better security. So you're not dealing with zeros and ones anymore. So when front security, in this case, authentication validation. So you can see that these are the steps that we need to work out. We need to work out the correct identity certification, certificate of the domain name, and client certifications. All right, so on the Radius server. So based on 802.1x specification for authentication validation. So these are 4 of the tools that we need to test over here for the authentication server. So if let's say some Tom, Dick, and Harry RE want to talk to me, and as a DU, I find that this is a flawed message. It's not really from the real RU. I will not accept that message. Right. So so that message coming in is very important. Vice versa. If let's say someone talk to the RU, and let's say if it's not recognized by RU in terms of this this message, and it's actually a threat, so the RU will not accept it as valid DU information. You reject it. So in other words, you avoid. So this surface is being protected, whereby any threat that's coming into the RU or threat that's coming into the DU is being authenticated to be valid before they can talk to each other. So I hope that gives you an idea of the testing. So of course, you can see that this is what we have tested, and then we have passed it. Okay. So it's a little bit different from telecom, you know. So if you don't understand everything, it's fine. So I don't try to go too fast. So just take it easy. Okay. It's okay. You don't understand everything. Okay. Just tell yourself that I'm learning. I'm also learning, right? So day one, when I see all these things, I just flow past my brain, right? So it's very normal. So just assure yourself everything is fine. Okay. You are all learning. So this one is the front hall security. This is another authentication for the supplicant validation. So it's also covered by the ORAN Alliance. So this is the RU, and then so just now I mentioned, now it's the other way around. When the RU want to send information to the DU, it must being authenticated. There is a valid signal from the RU. Okay, so this is a test result that's being tested as well. This is a Spring Plug Fest that we did with ORE. So you can see that DOS attack security is being tested, security validation tested, ORAN front security is being tested. And then last fall we did with Rakuten. So you can see that this is the test we did with Rakuten.